Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. So it's coming up to Mother's Day here in the UK in a few weeks. And I thought I would just have a quick play and just create, or see if I could create a nice card to send to Mum when the time comes. So kind of being prepared. And seeing as I've not played with my Brushos for a while, I thought I would try and create a card utilising the Brushos, but also utilising a couple of Tim Holtz Sizzix dies that I've got. So this is the detailed butterfly die. And I've also got, I'm not really sure what this one's called, Mixed Media 1. Now this is the one that actually cuts holes in your cardstock. So it will actually cut the hole without cutting a board around it, if you know what I mean. So literally it just cuts holes in the middle of your cardstock. So I thought, because I've never actually used these either since I purchased them, I thought I would have a play, see if I could do something with those, with the butterflies, with those holes, and see what happens. So first of all, I want a kind of bluish background that I want to play with. So I've pulled out of my Brusho collection, I've got leaf green, ultramarine and turquoise. Now the reason I've got the leaf green is because that does have some yellows and stuff into it. I don't want total blues, so a little hint here and there of a little bit of green and a little bit of yellow would go quite nicely in the background. So this is a piece of watercolour cardstock that I cut down. I got mine for, this is from Indigo Blue watercolour cardstock, 300 GSM, and it's hot pressed, so it's smooth. And I've just cut it at 144 millimeters by 144 millimeters. Now, for those that still operate in old money, that is, let me see if I can remember what it was. It was something like 5 7/16, or 5 8/16, something like that. Let me just see if I can verify that, because I know sometimes 5, so that must be 8, 9, 10, 11, so about 11/16, so 5 and 11/16. I know, just go metric already. Or 144 millimeters. Now the reason I've done it at 144 millimeters because this is going to be mounted onto a card base. But I digress. Anyway, so I've stuck it down with some masking tape, and I'm just going to squirt my watercolour paper with water. Just like that. And I'm going to grab the turquoise Brushos and I'm just going to dump them down and let the pigment do its thing. There you go. So that was the turquoise. I know, it's like magic. It's like watching magic happen. This is the ultramarine. Like that. And then if I just very, very lightly, from a height, have I got my spritzy spray? That's a stream one. I could do with a lighter bottle. And that one's nearly empty. Let me see if I can fill that up while that's activating. So while that's doing its magic there, I'm just going to fill this other spritz bottle up. That's it. Gives me a little bit more to play with. I know. A failure to prepare. Prepare to fail. That's better. So a lighter mist from a height. Just add a little bit more moisture for the pigments to work on. Okay, and then the leaf green. Just give them a shake, and then just dump some of those, just for a variety. There. Let's just see what happens with that. More yellow than green happening there, but that's fine. Because of all the blues, we're going to get something. So, for me, I need to just dam off this bit here, because that's going to end up running and dripping until my table isn't level. So I should just put that piece of kitchen roll there. And I need to just let this sit and dry on its own. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll let that happen, and then once it's dry, I'll come back and then I'll rejoin you. Okay, so my background is dry, and I'll show you beautiful colour that's come through with those Brushos. Absolutely gorgeous colour. So I've got my mixed media thinlets. I'm going to take the Harlequin one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it through my big shot, but I'm actually going to place it down about there, and then I'm going to cut through, remove those pieces, and then I'm going to put it through again, but this time I'm going to swap it over and cut it through from the top right hand corner. So there'll be a band across the middle, and those holes will be in that position there. So my big shot is very, very poorly at the moment, and I keep having to fix the handle. Now I bought this big shot in 2008, so I've had it for quite some time. It's served me very, very well, but everything has its day, and it may be time to purchase a new one if money allows. So I've got that set up, so I'm going to run that through. I'll do a couple of passes just in case. Excuse the wobble. Alright, so with any luck now, that will pop out and leave. There, can you see? Got all those holes in there now. Excellent. So I just need to get rid of all these bits. Just do that with my fingers. They fall out pretty easy. Right, normally you could save those bits for some other project, but I'm not going to. I'm now going to turn the die around and place it down there so that it's kind of opposite. Don't move. There we go. I'll then run that back through again. Just do a couple of passes. There. Get rid of those bits. Deal with those later. So just get rid of the big shot down into the floor for a minute, and then I can bring this back in to show you how that looks. Now obviously on a darker background, so let's bring some black cardstock in. Look at that. If that was stuck down with some tape or glue, that's going to look really, really nice. So that's exactly what I intend to do with it. Let's grab my trimmer, and I'm going to make my card base. So I'll cut my card base just slightly bigger than the cardstock that I've got there. And then I can just score that just to kind of give myself a crease. There we go. So this is a just slightly smaller than 6 inches square, which is a very nice size card. So that can get stuck down on there. There's some little bits of grunge around the edges, but that's fine, I can deal with that later. But that's going to be my card base. Okay, so let's just grab some glue and see if we can get that stuck down. I'm going to use the Tombow Mono because that's going to allow me to get right into the corners all the way around. And also just add a couple of dots just so that I know that they're going to be held around there. Don't mind if a little bit of it lifts off, just to kind of give you that trellis effect. It's ages since I've actually made a card. Okay, so bring that card base in, and then I can lay this down, and I've got a little bit of wiggle room before the glue will grab. There we go. Try and get that even border all the way around. So that's going to be my card base. Okay, now I can start working on the butterfly. So I'll put this to one side. Okay, so I've got another piece of the watercolour cardstock. This is just the companion piece to the one that I cut down for the front of the card. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing with this, but instead of using blues and greens, I'm going to use yellow, orange, and brilliant red. So I'm going to just spritz this time, just using the light mister rather than the heavy mister. And I'm just going to give it, just so that I can see that the whole of the front of that cardstock is covered. And as you can see, even the slightest fleck of colour gets in here. So I'm just going to dump some of the red. Like so. It is like magic. Just like magic. The orange. Try and get an even kind of smattering so you get a nice tonal variations. And then the yellow. So wherever I can see a gap in the card, I'm going to hit it with the yellow. Okay, there's a lot of pigment there. There's actually more here than it looks like on the screen. So I'm just going to activate as much as I can. Look at some of that beautiful deep colour. There. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And then I'm going to hit that with a heat gun and try and capture as much of that as I can. Again, I'm going to try and mop up and damp so that I don't get any of that red going anywhere else. I will be cutting out the butterflies from the middle of this sheet, so I'm not bothered about the edges so much. So I'll just mop up that edge there, and I'm going to see if I can try and soak up some of that colour from the middle. There we go. but I'm liking what I'm seeing. Okay, I'll get that hit and I'll be back when I've pretty much got it dry. Okay, so that is the card all dry. I mean, look at the vibrancy of colour on that. Absolutely love it. Now, because these Brushos are water-based pigments, then they act pretty much in the same sort of way that your distress inks will. So if I spray some water into my hand and do that and flick, let them sit for a second and then just grab some kitchen roll and then just lay it over the top. That's what I'm going to get. And I can do that 2 or 3 times. I can vary where I want those drips and spills to go. Now what I do try and do is use a clean piece of kitchen roll each time, because I don't want to contaminate what I've already taken off. And you can see it coming through where it started to lift it off. Yeah. Love that kind of splattery watercolory effect. And I can keep on going. Literally. I can just keep on going until I'm pretty much happy, but I am pretty much happy with that, the way it looks right now. Love it. So I'll just get it dried off because it is going to be a little bit damp. And just try and pick up as much of that water from my workstation as I possibly can. Stop jiggling the mat around. Okay. I'll get that dry. And then we can get to die cutting. Okay, so these are the dies. Now, there are 2 lots of dies. There's 2 different types of die in here. You've got one that will cut out and emboss the holes for your background. And you've got one that will cut out the detail of all the holes. So that's going to be the foreground. So those 2 I want to cut out in black. These 2 are the ones that will cut the main structure of the butterfly. You probably can't even see that in that kind of frosted. That's probably better. So where the colour is, that's the background. And then the detail is the bit where the black, so you then layer one on top of the other. That's if you're not familiar with these dies. Okay, so I can position my butterflies wherever I want to get the best kind of effect for colour, a variation of colour. So I kind of like the red tips up there with the orangey centres, and then down here I kind of like that mottly kind of orangey yellow colour there, somewhere about there. So I'm happy with that. So again, I need to bring in my big shot, lay that down in there, and then create my sandwich. Num num. Actually, I might just twist that one there so there's a bit more of that colour showing. If I was really clever, I could actually just use 2 there. That means I could make a couple more, but to be honest, I'm not really all that bothered about economies at the moment. Okay, so I've sandwiched those. Bring in the big shot. And let's get these background pieces done. Now, with any luck, go a couple of times. it's not cut, or it's not added any of the embossing detail to it, mainly because I haven't added anything underneath that would act kind of like as a cushion to push it through, but I don't mind that, that's okay. But did you see the way it just dropped out? So those are the two butterfly shapes that we've cut from the background, which are quite nice just on their own. But we're going to improve on those just slightly. Put those other two dies to one side, and then I need some black cardstock. So I'll just cut a piece big enough to fit through the big shot, so a minimum of about 6 inches, but I don't really need all that, do I? No, I don't. How much do I need? Probably only about 3 inches will do it. Yeah, about 3 inches. Okay, so I've got a 3-inch strip. And then I can take both of the detailed butterflies, lay them down, and then just make sure I've got the right ones. Yes, I've got the right ones this time. Lay them down and then run them through. Oh. Excuse the wobble. You're having to use a little bit of force to cut all these out. Just go backwards and forwards a couple of times just to make sure we have definitely got everything cut out. There's a lot to be said for electric ones, isn't there? Ah, now then, has that moved? No, I don't think it has. I may just need to poke these out. Where's my pokey tool? Somebody actually picked me up on using the word pokey tool, the name. Said it's an awl. I said no, it's a pokey tool because that's what it said on the packet when I bought it. Okay, so just pop all those holes out. He says just throw in bits of card everywhere. So there is a tool to do this, is like a brush that you can get, and it just knocks all the pieces out, but hey ho. I don't really use die cuts, intricate die cuts like this very often. Mr. Bentley flapping his ears. Somebody's just woke up again, haven't they? So you could use those, what's left over, if you like, as a stencil shape. But right, let me just carry on knocking all these bits out. It shouldn't really take long. But for you, it'll be like watching paint dry. So I'll just carry on doing these and I'll join with you in a second when they're all done. And we're ready to proceed. Okay, so those are the two base ones that we cut out. These are the two detailed butterflies that we cut out from that black cardstock. So all I need to do now is just add a little bit of glue. I'm just going to add a touch just on the base or the body of that one, and then flip that over and add a little bit of glue just onto the base of that one there. Because what that will enable us to do is to lift up the black detail on the butterfly wings if we would like to later on. So just kind of layer those up, try and get them pretty one on top of the other. There we go. And then just let them sit and dry for a minute or two. Okay, so while the butterflies are drying, I kind of liked that watercolory splatter effect that I was getting on the background for the butterfly. So I think I'm going to try and replicate that and just create a little bit of lightness onto the front. So like I did before, I'm just going to make some droplets just on the front of the card. Don't want loads, but I'm just going to flick water, just let it sit for a second or two. Just like that. Obviously we've got plenty of time to let it dry, and then once that's been sitting there for a second or two, I'm just going to lay my kitchen roll over the top and just lift that water and the pigment off the page. So I've got some nice kind of watercolory effects in that background, and again, like I said before, if you want more, do it again. So I think I'll just add some more down towards the bottom here. I think with something like this you can't have too many, because it just all adds to that beautiful kind of textured background that you've got. And you see how we've got lighter bits already starting to form, and that mottling. Okay, so again, I've turned over the kitchen roll. Thank you. Wobbly piece of equipment there. There we go. That looks lovely. I do like that. Make sure we get rid of all the water. Okay, I'll just give that a quick blast just to make sure it's all dry, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so the front of my card is now completely dry. You can see all that additional mottling that's happened in that background now, which I think has made it look absolutely beautiful. Very, very happy and very pleased with the way this has turned out. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my two butterflies now. I've only stuck the glue down onto the bodies so that I can, if I want to, just raise that front part up and just a little bit of dimension, just to give it a little bit of a flourish, if you like. Now on the back I've just added a very small foam circular dot, or a pop dot I think you call them in the States, and I'm just going to lay the first one down. Let's just see if we can get it just within the confines, maybe just going over the edge of that page there, so it's just on the trellis. Just give it a squeeze to make sure it's stuck down, and then we can mess around with that butterfly there. And then done the same thing for the second one, and then just get that just down at the bottom, about there, give it a squeeze, and then we can play a little bit with those details. So we've got a really nice dimensional Mother's Day card going on there. But I just want to add a little phrase to the front. It just says, "Lovies, I've just printed this on a piece of cardstock and I just mounted it on a little piece of that scrap black." I'm not going to raise that up on foam pads, I'm actually just going to stick that down as is with glue. And I'm going to put that just there in that bottom corner, just to make sure I've kind of got it as straight as I can. Like that. And then the other thing to do is while I did that, I also created a little insert. So it's just on a sheet of paper, and I've just typed out The words from, I think it was a Dolly Parton song. It was actually used for a comedy programme in the 1970s, early 1980s, incidentally called Butterflies. And I've left myself a little bit of space to write on there. So I've got, love is like a butterfly, it's soft and gentle as a sigh, the multicoloured moods of love are like its satin wings. And I've got a little space just to write a little message to Mum there. So I've folded that over, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit of glue, and I'm going to stick that just on the inside there, so on the front, so that that attaches to the inside front cover here, so that when you pull that open, the sentiment or the actual insert sheet will also be pulled up and open, so it's like a self-opening insert. So I'm just going to lay that down so it's pretty much in the middle, and then just close the card on it. And then when you open that up, you see how it pulls that top sheet and automatically opens the insert for you. So always do it on the inside front cover. So just to make sure, just tuck it in, just run my fingernail through it, make sure I've got it pretty centred, which I have, and then we can leave that, just let that sit there and dry. So the only other thing that I need to do now is try just to kind of remove that adhesive from around the edge. So I might not be able to do it because it's stained, but just to see if I can get rid of some of it, clean and tidy some of it up. So this is an adhesive remover. It's like a piece of rubber, as you can see. And if you've got some adhesive that you want taking off, this pretty much is the tool for the job. It's like an artist's tool, which does remove sticky adhesive. That's why I wasn't all that particularly bothered when I saw it earlier on from the tape. You can see it's kind of cleaned up those edges. Only where it hasn't been stained with the pigment. So there's no sticky edges to it anymore. The rest of the gunk is just pure pigment. And I think that is that. I've got a nice, colourful Mother's Day card to give to Mum when the day arrives. I'm not quite sure what day it is, but I know it's coming soon because everything's in the shops. So that's all from me for now. I hope you enjoyed watching me put that card together using those Tim Holtz dyes and the Brusho pigment powders. If you did, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. It's all from me for now. I'll see you all again real soon. I've just got to go and find myself an envelope now. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.